Welcome to the AI Research Roundup. I'm Alex. Today we're looking at a paper trending on X, published on January 8, 2026, about 3 days ago. It introduces Sci-Reasoning, a first-of-its-kind dataset that decodes the intellectual process behind AI breakthroughs by identifying 15 distinct thinking patterns used by top researchers. The paper is titled Sci-Reasoning, a dataset decoding AI innovation patterns, and as we'll see later, the implications for training the next generation of autonomous research agents are really promising. Figure 1 illustrates the dataset construction pipeline, which is divided into 3 main stages. On the far left, the process begins by identifying high-quality research, specifically selecting oral and spotlight papers from major conferences like NeurIPS and ICML. Then, the middle section shows how the system traces the intellectual lineage of each paper to pinpoint its top citations. Finally, the third stage on the right synthesizes these connections, distinguishing whether a predecessor provided a key methodology or just inspiration. So while Figure 1 outlined the process, Figure 2 presents a concrete result, a complete entry from the dataset. This example focuses on a paper called Andes, which optimizes text streaming. On the left, the intellectual predecessors section lists key influences like VLLM and SG Lang, specifying exactly what the authors adopted from each. Over on the top right, the thinking trajectory maps out the logic step by step. It starts with identifying a gap in current metrics, borrows a cross-domain insight from video streaming, and then reframes the problem. Finally, the bottom sections synthesize this into a cohesive narrative and a visual relationship graph. Alright, moving from that specific example to the big picture, Figure 3 breaks down the composition of the entire dataset. The chart organizes papers by 3 major venues, ICLR, ICML, and NeurIPS. You can see the breakdown by year in the legend, with blue for 2023, orange for 2024, and green for 2025. Crucially, the bars distinguish between presentation types. The darker segments at the bottom are orals, while the lighter tops are spotlights. This highlights the dataset's focus on quality, culminating in that massive spike for NeurIPS 2025 on the far right. Okay, now that we have the dataset scope, Figure 4 reveals the actual cognitive strategies found within it. This chart ranks all 15 identified thinking patterns by frequency, and the distribution follows a clear power law. 3 dominant strategies stand out at the top, collectively accounting for over 52% of all papers. Gap-driven reframing leads the pack at roughly 24%, followed by cross-domain synthesis and representation shift. Below these giants, we see a long tail of specialized methods, which appear much less frequently. Well, Figure 4 looked at single patterns, but Figure 7 shows that the most successful research actually combines them into recipes. The chart ranks these pairings by frequency, highlighting the top 3 strategies in bright green. The number 1 combination, at the very top, pairs gap-driven reframing with representation shift, which effectively means diagnosing a limitation and then inventing a new primitive to solve it. Just below that, the second most common recipe combines cross-domain synthesis with representation shift, an approach the authors describe as import and adapt. So, with Figure 7 showing the recipes for innovation, Table 1 now evaluates how well current AI models can predict these research directions. The authors use a metric called Hit at 10, which tracks whether the correct idea appears in the model's top 10 suggestions. Gemini 2.5 Pro takes the top spot, correctly predicting the research path nearly half the time. Claude Opus 4 follows with 43%, while GPT 5.2 and Claude Sonnet 4 fall further behind, illustrating a clear hierarchy in scientific reasoning ability. Wrapping up, 2 takeaways stand out. This research transforms vague scientific intuition into structured data, identifying 15 concrete patterns that drive innovation. By mapping these intellectual lineages, the dataset paves the way for AI agents capable of true scientific discovery rather than just optimization. That's it for this episode of the AI Research Roundup. I'm Alex. Thanks for listening.